Hey, we're back, Brenda and me. This is part 2 of our podcast, and we're going to continue with the book. And Brenda's
Our podcast, Channeling Joan. And let us remind you, as we do with every podcast, that Joan Rivers is part of our show at her her own
wanting
cognizance.
to,
She is part of the
wanting
show.
to continue on
She
this
promises
earth
to
plane.
come in to every one of our shows. That's why we named it Channeling Joan. And we don't know when that will be, but stay tuned, because we're going to hear from her at some point.
You sure will, I'm sure.
Hopefully more than once this time.
Hopefully. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to continue on with excerpts from Shirley's book, Gripping Tales of a Seemingly Simple Psychic. And we're just expanding on some of the things that are in the book. The book is available. We'll have information on that at the end of the podcast. But for now,
Or down below.
We are going to pick up where we left off on our last podcast. So we talked about, Shirley, this period of you sort of coming into the Christian church,
Right.
and things were happening,
Mhm.
right? And some supernatural things were beginning to happen, and they didn't always have a positive feeling to them.
Right.
And so in chapter 9, which we call The Creature, something occurred. And you want to tell us about it? What was
Sure.
happening at that time?
Sure. Yeah, I was having a little trouble in my marriage, and things were rocky. And I did, I did turn to the church, and I was bringing a lot of people into the Christian church at the time, and it was great. Although there was a lot of conflict within the home. So one day, one night, as I turned in with my ex-husband, my daughter was very small at the time, and I had her in a small little playpen type crib in front of my
In the foot of the bed.
At the head of the bed.
Foot of the bed.
Foot of the bed, sorry. The foot of the bed. And I fell asleep, and then something woke me, and I couldn't understand what it was. It was just a funny feeling. So I looked over to my right, and there was a big window there, and I had a beautiful red velvet curtain hanging from it. And something made me just stare at the curtain. And I had to kind of rub my eyes to get a better focus. Then all of a sudden, an object moved in front of the curtain. It was the darkest part of night. It was very dark in the room. But when I saw the object move, I backed up and I woke. I kind of pushed myself back on the bed, and then whatever it was seems like it was sitting at the foot. At the foot of my bed, and it stood up.
Well, but wasn't it looking over the crib?
Well, yeah, I'll get
the
into
baby,
that.
yeah.
It was looking over the crib at my daughter, who was sleeping.
About 1 year old, maybe.
And it stood up, and I screamed. And when I screamed, my ex-husband woke up, turned around, and screamed with me. And we're both staring now at this very tall, maybe 9 foot or taller, I guess, creature with a very small head and long, skinny arms and long legs, just a dark figure staring at me, or staring at us, but I think it was more focused on me. And I screamed. I think I screamed again, and it came running over to the side of my bed, in which my leg was exposed at that time, because I probably pushed the blankets down, and it just started to whack my legs, just boom, 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 boom. And I tried to pray in my mind, because I remember in the Christian church they said if you say the blood of Jesus, that you'll be protected and saved and whatever else. So I was trying to say for the blood of Jesus, but my teeth were chattering, so I was going blah, 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 for the blah, blah, blah. I couldn't even get it out, but I was saying it over and over in my head, and when I said that, it did run out and run. I guess it ran out. I don't even know. We don't even know. We were both in the state of shock, and it might just disappeared through the wall. I don't know, but the door was closed behind it, and we were just in the state of shock for a long time.
Or something in the
Well, at that point, it sounded like an earthquake shook the house, and we had people living downstairs from us, and everybody came running up the stairs and said, "Oh my God, was there an earthquake in the house? What happened?" And we explained what had happened, and I called two of my good friends from the church, and they came right over and prayed and prayed and prayed, and we were so scared that we ended up living with my friends for a while, maybe for a week, or I can't remember how long, but we couldn't even sleep back in that room, and never found out what it was or what it just was. Terrible. I don't know if it was alien or just a bad spirit or what. I to this day, I mean, it was a very, very scary happening.
experience.
Yeah.
And it's in the book.
And
there is a sketch
it's more
in the
in
book.
detail. Yeah,
that
there's a
you'll see.
sketch. Yes, yes, the sketch is in the book.
And that was, something that happened, and then little did you know there was going to be more evil right around the corner.
Yeah, yes.
And so from that experience, once that happens, what can you do, right? So, life went on.
Life went on.
And more, her life became even more intense as far as these rather disturbing paranormal or supernatural things
Right.
that were happening at the time, and it does get more intense.
Joan coming through. How much more intense could it be?
More intense.
Whoa, this is getting good.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a book that needs to be sold. Oh, I can't get enough of it.
I'm not going to
I'm sitting here patiently,
Thank
but
you.
whoa,
Yeah,
it's something.
it was something when it happened. I mean, I was there for a lot of it, and I remember when Shirley called.
Okay,
and,
thanks, Joan.
And we had to hear the story, and there was nothing we could do, right? When something like that supernatural happens, you just kind of have to accept it, which we did. And Shirley was
Trying to
living it.
figure it out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was trying to figure it out.
Yes, and
Day by day,
probably
and
doing
it was
lots of
just,
praying.
and I had a lot of people from the church, say that it was, it could have been this and it could have been that, and it was probably the devil, and just pray, 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 pray. I don't know. I can't say it was the devil. I can't say it was an alien from
but
outer space.
did not
but
feel
it was
positive.
It was a negative spirit, and especially waking up to a spirit that's standing over the crib of your child's bed. These days, they'd probably catch it on film with all the cameras and the the nursery cameras they have. But back in those days, we didn't have that. So yeah.
So things did get more intense, and the chapter after that is probably one of the most gripping tales of this seemingly simple psychic. But we'll let people read that one, because that really leads into even more.
A lot of dark
as far as darkness. Yes,
darkness and.
But you kind of came out of that after that experience, the next experience, and then more things happen in the book. There's 39 chapters in this book, and every chapter deals with a different episode and different psychic and spiritual phenomena that Shirley experienced. So the book really is an interesting read, if I do say so myself. There's lots of stories like that and more.
It's so funny. I hate this feeling that I have, because, sometimes just speaking about it, I'm reliving the event, and it just doesn't feel good.
Yes.
I mean, I have set myself aside from it, but still, you just can't totally get rid of that feeling.
Yeah, there were really some
Really.
incredible things that happened. So there are several chapters that deal with other incidents, kind of like that, different spiritual and paranormal encounters that you had, including, an experience that her daughter had that was, as a child, was rather amazing. The chapter is called Heaven is Missing an Angel. And that has to do with your daughter and an experience that she had as a very young child that was very revealing to the other side. There is a couple of other chapters that deal with some exciting things that you will find gripping. But after a little while, Shirley, all of that happened before your psychic. Before you actually realized that you were a psychic, that you were a psychic medium, or that you had psychic abilities.
Yes.
All of those were just things that were like a precursor
Supernatural events.
to what was going to happen, of what was to come. Right. It seemed that you were susceptible to paranormal phenomenon and energies, exactly. And so I think this period was probably in your 30s when you first began to realize that you had some kind of psychic ability.
Oh, yeah.
And there is a chapter in here. It's chapter 13, your lucky number.
Oh, my lucky number.
Yeah, that's literally her lucky number. And that chapter is called As Seen on TV. And in this chapter, you reveal that you were a stay-at-home mom and that you, were privy to watching daytime TV. Right. And so you liked the morning shows.
Oh, I loved the morning shows, yeah.
And while watching the morning shows,
and my...
yes. Now, this was in the 80s. And in the 80s, there began a trend of psychics appearing on these morning programs. Yes. And one of them was People Are Talking.
Oh, yes.
That
was
one
of my
shows, right? Okay, so in the San Francisco Bay Area, there was a show called People Are Talking. It was like a local talk show. And at that time, there became an interest in psychics. It was literally a trend. Right. And so Shirley was just completely mesmerized.
Psychics.
Yes.
Yes, hot psychics coming on.
Yeah,
TV
and it was
and giving readings to the audience.
That's
and
right.
It was very exciting. There was so many, Sylvia Brown being one of them. And I was so excited, and when they would read the audience, and the audience would either agree or disagree with, sometimes they would disagree with what the psychic was saying, I would read the audience and I would know what the answer would be, the outcome would be. Even when I heard wrong information being given, I would say, no, that's not right. This or that happened. It wasn't that way, or this or that way. And they would, and it would shock me, because then they would confirm that the information that I gave was right. Even though I'm sitting in my kitchen at home, I'm giving this accurate information that was actually mind-blowing to me. And the psychics would kind of, I'm not going to down any psychic. I mean, I don't know, maybe they saw something different, or maybe reading the wrong person, I'm not sure. But I was pretty right on to the answers to their questions, and I said, wow, I have another ability. And that's when I knew that I had something, and I decided to test that. And I started reading people after that.
Well, actually, you were testing, yes, okay. I mean, in the book,
yeah,
you talk about how you began to self-test yourself within your house, because you weren't really working outside of the home or anything. And you did things like read milk cartons.
Oh, yes,
and,
yes. Yes, I would read milk cartons. I would
in your mind,
cover certain information, and I would know the names of these people, and I would see where they were at, missing children. I had visions of of people taking children, holding their hands and walking them off to places, and a few of them I couldn't really prove they were right or wrong, but there was many that were proven, that later were found that exactly the way I saw certain things,
Yes.
is how it turned out.
And I think
even missing people. I mean, like, they'd say, "Oh, 2 children are missing." Da 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 da, and I would just come out and
was
say,
it Lacey
"Wow."
Peterson that you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you saw some.
I
You
saw
got some visions of her,
I saw
of where she
visions
was
of that and where she
yes.
was, and that's exactly how they found her. And
You didn't
yeah.
speak up, but it was confirmed.
I didn't
you were
speak
right
up.
about
Actually, I
certain
did
things.
call the police department a few times.
Yeah.
And asked if they used information from psychics, and they didn't sound very interested. They just kind of said, "Oh, what do you have?" and this and that, and didn't really take psychics that serious. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So you weren't actually reading people quite yet.
I was testing. I was more or less in the
yourself.
testing
Yes.
phase. Yeah.
Right. And you were, and I remember you being rather excited, because this was the first time that you felt like, hey, I've got a psychic, window.
I can do what they
Yeah,
can do.
yeah. And so it was an exciting time of her, just being aware of your ability and maybe starting to cultivate it a little bit. Now, in the next chapter, you talk about your first reading. This chapter is called "You Never Forget Your First."
Joan coming through. What did you say, Brenda?
What? You never forget your first.
I forgot mine.
Oh, do tell. You forgot though. Darn it. Try to remember.
She does. She
She's
just
cute.
wanted to add that in.
Yes.
I think.
Joan is so cute. We love her. We
Mhm.
love her. She promised she'd add life to this show, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
But anyway, you never forget your first. And this was the first time I think that you actually, for a friend, did a reading. Actually, your first one was for your friend Nina.
Oh,
Nicholas.
yes. I did, yes.
And you don't have to get into detail.
Yeah,
but did you help
right.
her connect? Who did you help her
I
connect
did.
with?
I think it was her brother,
Uh-huh.
who had been hit by a car,
Mhm.
and her mother, I think, who died in a tragic way, and who else? I mean, I was reading for friends, so
Yes.
I can't remember all the
Yes.
friends I read for.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can't remember what I listed there in the
Mhm.
book, but yes.
Madonna.
But I did.
Yeah.
I most of the time had people crying and confirming all of the information that I
Because
gave
it's
them.
exciting when you realize you have a friend or a family member who has this, connection to the other side. I mean, come on. Most of us have no idea what happens after someone passes. So to have access to it through Shirley certainly has been exciting for the family and all your
And
friends.
exciting for me too,
Yeah.
because I'm helping.
Yes.
I feel like I'm helping and alleviating some of the pain that they may be carrying,
Mhm.
and just to know there's something else. It's just a
Yeah.
wonderful thing.
Yes, it's been beneficial and it's a way to help others and probably live out your purpose, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I mean, it can't be for nothing, that's for
yeah,
sure.
it can't be.
Okay, so now you're starting to, get comfortable with reading,
Mhm.
with readings. We do have a chapter in here called Psychic Ability 101, which is just an explanation of what Shirley actually sees. Now, that's changed a little bit, right? Back
There's been
then-
so many things that have
Yeah.
changed. I mean, I have to say, even with this book here,
Yeah.
I have
She's so much more
grown.
advanced, yeah.
Yeah, I have
Mhm.
grown
Mhm.
tremendously.
So you used to kind of see things like a TV screen, I think.
Well, first I just would see the air,
Yeah.
and that emerged into dimensions, and then it just is. It's actually it's different
Each time?
each time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see it like it depends on where I'm at, and who I'm talking to and who comes in. It's different every time.
Yeah, which makes that kind of exciting, right?
Yeah, for me it does.
Mhm.
It'd be boring if I had to see it the same way each and every
Yes,
time.
yes. And so then this 39 chapter book has several different encounters and different topics, and I think again that's what makes this book really interesting. There's a chapter called The Dead in the Dark, and this kind of talks about suicide. You do
Suicide, I think I
cover
covered.
suicide, yes, a
Uh-huh.
suicide and where that person is.
And,
That's just
and
one
you know what,
person.
with suicide now too, and whatever chapter you say, you know, I've learned so much, you know, in every topic, you know, sometimes I would think that maybe it was only this way or that, and then, you know, meeting a lot of people who have committed suicide, I've learned so much, and I express it to their loved ones of where and how and what happens. So that's interesting too.
Yes, it is. And then other abilities, you know, came Shirley's way. There is a chapter in here called The Voice. And this chapter,
This is yeah.
yes, it's a story about when my mother had Alzheimer's,
Mhm.
and she was now in a facility, and Shirley had an experience. Just briefly tell us kind of what happened there.
Oh, well, I did have a daycare in my home. Daycare was over, and I decided to go shopping with my daughter, and so I was driving along the road, and all of a sudden I heard a loud voice saying. At this time, my mother was in a home, and
care
she had
facility.
She had Alzheimer's, and she was in a care facility that we had just put her in, and
And we weren't really sure about it.
we weren't really sure about
Yeah.
it. But so I was on my way to see if it was any, you know, there was anything, if she was happy.
I think, weren't you on your way somewhere else though? Because you were
I was
told to
shopping.
check.
I was
Okay,
shopping,
yes.
so I was going straight down, and the voice screamed, and said, "Go to your mother now!" And I didn't question it. I just went, and made a U-turn, and I drove, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And it was a feeling that I had to get there immediately. I stepped on the gas. I don't know how many miles an hour I was going, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "Well, we're not going where you know." I told my daughter, "You know, we're on our way to see Grandma." And so when we got to the facility, you know, I just jumped out of the car, grabbed my daughter, and just ran towards the door, and pushed the door open, and it was a sad sight because there were a few patients that were just kind of hung over their wheelchairs, and just there was nowhere, there was no one in there, and so I just so I looked into the room that she was supposed to be in, and she wasn't in there, and so then there was a nurse on the side, and I said, "Where's my mother?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know." And she went to go look at the rituals, and then she started to look for my mother, and then so I was running down the hall, looking in all the rooms and looking, and then there was huge glass doors going towards the yard, and my daughter, at the time, I think she might have been 9, looked out and said, "Mom, it was about 6 o'clock at night, maybe 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was getting dark, and she said, 'There's Grandma, she's laying outside on the ground,' and so I screamed, you know, and then I went, 'Oh my God!' So then the other nurse went, 'Oh my gosh!' Da, 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 da." She was, they had the doors locked for the night. She would have ended up dead.
She was laying on the ground with
She was laying in the ground. We ran over to her. She was laying face down in a pool of blood, and on the cement, and you know, and then I screamed. I said, "Go get a wheelchair!" Go, you know, because she still was breathing, and the nurse, one nurse went to go get the wheelchair, and the other one just folded her arms in a strange way, and I said, "Go call 911," and she said, you know, and she did not want to call 911 because of course she knew she would have been in trouble. So I said, "Call 911." I went inside, called 911. I got my mother situated, and you know, trying to clean up the blood and everything, and I said, "Call 911. Or I'm going to jump over the desk and call 911," because she had a phone on the other side. And she said, "We do things our way," and she folded her arms. And I wanted to kill her. I'm not going to lie, but instead I said, "This lady here is going to change the story around, so I'm going to run." And I had my phone in the car, and at that time I think it was a flip phone or something. But ran into my car, got the phone, called 911, and of course they came immediately over and took my mom, who had a broken nose, and but that lady was a very evil.
She was. But the bottom line is, you were told to go there
Yes.
by a special voice from the other side.
Oh yes.
You know, God, we can call it whatever it was. It was some sort of divine intervention.
Yes.
And Shirley is just full of those kinds of stories.
Yes. And thank God
Yes,
she didn't die
she
like
ended
that.
up being okay, exactly. And had you not gone, she would have
She
been
would
locked out all night.
have been
So
locked
they
out
didn't
all
know
night.
she was
They
out of
didn't
the
even
room.
know.
Yeah.
She was outside.
Oh, those care facilities.
Yeah, so
Um,
really be careful, and it's a
Yeah,
very sad.
not
sad
everybody's
thing.
lucky enough to get a voice telling them to go, you know, your mother's in trouble. So go
Right.
check on your own, I guess is the solution. So there are more, you know, other experiences. We have a chapter called Death Detector, which is kind of a macabre ability. that you
Yeah,
have.
it is. It's
We're not
something
going to get
I-
into detail. We're going to let
Right.
them read that one. But Shirley gets a signal from people when their soul, not necessarily they know, but their soul seems to know that they're going to pass.
Well, they don't
And
really know.
we'll leave it at that.
But they have questioned me. I
They know something.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
We'll
that's a very
get more into
interesting
detail. It's a
chapter.
very interesting. It's a phenomenon I haven't heard anywhere
have, yeah.
yet. You know, Shirley
Maybe-
really has some
maybe there
special
was some-
abilities that happen. Shirley talks about spiritual guides because she has her own, and she shares her experience with her spiritual guide, who she knows
Yes.
personally,
Spiritual guides who've come in,
and that's a
which is
special
a gift from
chapter.
God to me.
Definitely. Apparently we all have them, but we don't all have privy to be able to talk to them the way that Shirley does. Maybe there's a way
And
to...
they even manifest gifts for me. Just so many things.
And other little incidents happened in here. Ain't Nobody Dead in the Cemetery. That's another chapter. Actually, we changed
Well-
it. It's the dead don't live in the cemetery.
Yeah, they don't live, but you
Yes.
can meet with them and you can engage
Yes.
in spiritual
When
contact.
you're there,
in the
they
cemetery.
come around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have lots of pictures of orbs and things in the book. Caught on camera is probably one of the most...
All this time I had the microphone this way.
That's okay. Hopefully...
Hopefully we'll
Yeah.
get, we have-
Okay, so there is a chapter in here called Caught on Camera. And this is where Shirley literally got a picture of a ghost in a situation where she summoned the ghost of an establishment. We won't tell the
Yeah.
exact story, but there is a photo in here and the story that goes along with it, and it's fascinating. So look forward to that. And back to the hotel. You go back to the
Yes,
hotel
back to the
and get
hotel.
more paranormal information. We've got I Ain't Afraid of No Ghost. This is how one can empower themselves to get rid of a ghost, the way
Right.
Shirley did. Right, Shirley?
Or I do all the time now. I mean, that was back then.
Mhm.
I've learned so many other ways, and I really don't have that fear of ghosts anymore.
Now, probably the
I mean-
most profound. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
you
I
know
feel
how
I
to
have
do
more
it.
strength.
Yeah.
And
You know how to
I
get rid of
did.
the ones that don't
And I
belong
think
there.
it's our fear that really, you know, I don't know. It's if you fear them, then you know, if you face your fear will disappear.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
You kind of taught me that, because I used to be afraid of my own shadow. And, you know, but Shirley has empowered me where I'm not really afraid. I'm certainly not afraid of orbs and ghosts and things. And, you know, if it feels bad, I can send it away. It
Yeah.
will.
right.
And anybody
Or
can.
just don't acknowledge it too.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes they will persist, but yeah, there's
So,
ways.
the most profound chapters in this book are having to do with family members. Before the end of the book, which is about our sister, there was Heavenly Hawaiian.
Oh yes.
This was a very, very significant trip that Shirley took to Hawaii.
With my daughters.
Our
yes.
family, our mother was from Hawaii, so we have somewhat of a connection there, and Shirley went on a special trip.
Mhm.
And you ended
Yes.
up having a really, really cool
I had a
experience.
wonderful experience,
Yes.
and I feel so lucky and privileged that I was able to still be on this earth, yet be in a heavenly realm, actually transported to through the Manoa tree, not the Manoa tree, the banyan tree. Sorry.
Yeah.
at the Monroe Cemetery, and right now I think it's closed now. But
The Chinese cemetery.
It was a
in
Chinese-
what island?
it
Honolulu?
was in Oahu.
Oahu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Just real
it's
quick.
a long, beautiful story.
Yeah,
but
well,
anyway,
she went on
I
a
was
world
able
tour,
to meet
right?
all of my ancestors and my mother and father and people that have passed on, and it was the most beautiful story. I don't want to cry, but
Yeah.
that was the most feeling story. It's not
Yeah.
story, but happening.
Most emotional
Event
story, I think, for you.
that I ever had, and it was like kind of like a near death, but I didn't actually die. Of course, the guy
body
thought
was
that
still-
I should. Yeah, my
Your
body
body
was
was-
still intact and still here, but my consciousness or whatever.
There's
I
a
don't know.
picture
I
of
felt
it.
totally lifted. My spirit was lifted to the heavens, where they all
Greeted you.
greeted me and
Yes.
respected, and all had their heads
It's an
down
amazing,
in
an
respect.
amazing
It was just-
story.
yeah, you'll have to read about
Yes.
it. It's
And then after that
Wonderful.
experience, after that story, we start getting to the end of the book, and the last 3 or 4 chapters, was it 5? 4 chapters, are about our oldest sister, Cynthia, who passed away in 2012. And the incredible, because that was a time when your psychic ability also seemed to expand and lift when
Right.
Cynthia
Right.
died.
right. Yes.
I mean, we won't get into that, but just know that those are very emotional chapters, and they're so revealing. So we learned
So
so
much,
much
yeah.
from you because, thank God for Shirley's ability, but we were so comforted, really, because we were more in contact with my past sister than we were in real life. She was around so much that we were full
In
of
the
sympathy.
afterlife, right.
Yes, and it was wonderful.
Yes,
Because now she had kind of a rough life, and now she had clarity,
And
and
to tell us things in detail, and just was.
and we were able to ask
wonderful.
questions. That was the first time that I realized, the privilege of Shirley having this ability, that I learned to ask questions. Like, you can ask questions and ask, and you shall receive.
Deep questions.
Yes, and they answer. They
Yeah.
answer, and
it's
you.
not only are you okay over there on the other side.
Talk
It's
about
like,
opening
what are
up
you
the
doing
heavens.
over there on the other
Yeah,
side?
we were asking all
And,
kinds of questions.
And just
And
so
getting
many.
the answers, and knowing more than the average person.
And I hope one day
What
to
a
channel
privilege.
here on one of our shows and
you will.
actually channel and talk about
Oh,
it.
you
know.
will.
Yeah.
I mean, when Joan comes in, you're
Mhm.
channeling.
What?
I said,
Did you say you're gonna channel me? I'm right here.
Exactly.
You can ask me
Well, she's
any
saying,
question you
maybe one day, but you're channeling basically, right, Joan?
I'm
Yes.
here.
I know.
I'm here.
We
And
feel
if
you.
you want to ask me,
Yes. Yes. We thank you, Joan, for agreeing to be part of our show, because this is a testament to how life
There's
goes
a
on.
reason why I'm here. I'm here to not only help you, but help understand where I am right now. There, here, and everywhere.
Right.
Yes.
How? Are you able to answer that question? How are you able to do that?
Ask the big
That's a
guy
tough
up in the
question.
sky. Ask your father. I don't have all the answers, honey,
Yeah,
but I
you
do
don't
know
need to.
that I
That
can
you
do
can.
it. And,
Yes. That's
it's
all
a-
you need to know,
It's a
really.
conscious meeting consciousness, and that's how I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
Yes, it is.
So, are you enjoying the book, Joan, so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And gosh, I want to say so much more, but you guys have me shocked. Literally shocked. I don't understand how all these things happen to you in your life. I mean, I had a lot of things happen to me in my life, but none of them was as interesting as that. And I could say I've done, Broadway, stage,
Yeah.
comedy.
We are talking to Joan Rivers right now. Realize that.
Wow. And
Shirley is moved to the side, and Joan is talking.
yes. Yes.
But,
Did I
yeah.
announce myself this time?
Yeah,
Did I
no,
forget
you
to
didn't.
announce myself?
You didn't. You
Oh,
didn't.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's me, Joan. Yes. Your book is really very interesting, and actually puts my story to shame. No, not really.
Yeah.
Did I get you there?
In a different way. Interesting in a different way. Your story's interesting
Right.
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people don't know this stuff, right, Joan? And that's why she wrote the book.
I didn't know
Why we wrote the book.
I was raised a certain way, with a certain religion, and
Yeah.
we did things all the same way.
Yes.
I knew there was the Father up above, and I know. But the way that it's happened to this girl here, it's phenomenal.
Isn't it? Isn't it? To be able to sort of be there and here, in her case too, almost like you, but alive.
Yes.
Still a human.
Yes, yes.
No,
I would
it's
share
quite
some
a gift.
insight later. I'll share more insight later.
Oh, good.
But I'll let you finish up your book
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
Finish up your last chapter, whatever
Yes.
you're going to say. I'll be back.
All
Okay,
right, Joan.
signing off. Joan.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you. Oh, that's so wonderful when she comes through like that. And what an amazing human being she was, and being that she is now. Still the same, basically.
She makes my heart beat real fast.
Yeah. Well, her clarity and all was just so refreshing, and her humor is refreshing.
Yes.
But really,
Is that it?
that's about it, Shirl.
Did we
right?
finish up? Oh, okay.
We promised, because since then, a million new things have happened since this book was written. This is all very sort of elementary psychic stuff,
Right.
It
It is. There's so much more.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
so much has happened.
I mean, we could write a second and a third and maybe even
and
a
we
fourth
may.
book.
We
And-
may.
Yeah, we may. So,
Because all you got to do is we just got to recap it
Right.
and then put it down.
right.
Because it's beneficial to know, more about.
Yeah, that it's not
what's out
just
there.
this life here. There's so much more.
And you can actually, by knowing and by being open to knowing, you can actually enhance your human life. We can be spiritual here.
And we can ask questions. Yeah,
Yes.
we can ask questions. It's not, what people say we should do and think and whatever. We have it opens your mind.
It does. We're
We're not
and
stuck.
it will probably help anyone who's open-minded
Mhm.
to have more understanding and maybe be in a better place when we go over
Right.
to the other side. And
Yes.
We're all going to cross over, obviously.
Right.
And when
It's
we
like
do,
skipping a grade
it's better
almost.
to learn as much as we can here,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And be open to it.
Yes.
So again, the book is available. We are hoping, that you'll come forward and get the book from us. It is available on Amazon, but there are perks, like we mentioned in our last podcast, right, Jerome?
Yes.
What did you offer again?
We'll have a raffle and maybe a few psychic readings, maybe short ones.
Yes.
Yes
And
or
maybe
no
a question.
questions or whatever.
Yeah, yes.
We haven't decided, but we will give everyone the opportunity that does purchase a book.
That you'll have, yes, an opportunity to
Yes,
possibly
the
get
opportunity.
a little bit of a little
Extra.
time with Shirley,
Mhm.
in one form or another.
Mhm.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for joining
Yes.
us on this podcast.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you soon.
We'll see you next time.
Bye
We
bye.
promise it will be exciting. Bye-bye.